Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here, with starting a new playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with BlackICE Mark II, as they're calling it, I believe. And I've not even played a single day, but I've looked around, and it is fabulously better, much better in my opinion than that Total War thing that I briefly experimented with. I hope you will enjoy it. We're going to be playing as England, sort of based off that other one, because we're doing a lot of Germany. We'll be back to Germany, don't worry. We're going to also be playing Germany as Kaiserreich coming very soon. I've ended that previous Kaiserreich playthrough, and we'll be doing a new one. I'm understanding before the end of this month they will have a new Kaiserreich out, and I'm planning on jumping on that and playing a series by that. There is a few episodes of a Kaiserreich that will, I guess, not be released that I made, but better to keep this going. Okay, so because I want what I really want to do, and I've really been disappointed, and it's just the way I'm dealing with partially Hearts of Iron 4, partially just dealing with mods. I don't want to blame any mod maker because it's just the way mods are, because they're developing and experimenting, and I love this map that I'm looking at too, so that's great. They're working on things, so things change, things are developing. But I really want to sort of get through and play through a series, and not just play 10 episodes of it and then jump to something else. So I'm really hopeful that this can be a long series. So let's go here. We have basically rearmament program to choose from, and reinforce the empire. Both are 70 days. I think, always rather have get the civilian factories earlier if we're going to do both in order. Now, research. This is one area that I'm still I'll show off some of the stuff here shortly. Still not absolutely sure how well BlackICE is balancing it, is with all their new texts and doctrines to research. Are nations given enough slots to do it? Romania should not have nearly the ability to develop as much as, say, Germany, of course. But you want to be able to at least replicate to some degree what happened historically. Now, let's look at this. This was, when we were last looking at this, was basically Aden. I love this. Now, this is what the one thing I'm well, there's a fire truck going by. I'm guessing I'm going to leave this in. That's sort of interesting. Don't know why they felt they needed to turn their styrene on right there. They're not going that fast. Well, such is life. I'm trying to make a nice recording. Back to one thing I'm not is stormtrooper assaults. Now, I think I know why they did this, but well, sort of to be funny, of course, but within the World War II context, people often see stormtroopers in the terms of the Sturmabteilung of the SA, well, the SA, Sturmabteilung of the Nazi Party, the NSDAP. Well, that's being named off of the World War I German stormtroopers that would storm the trenches. Obviously, they've done the Star Wars there that sort of breaks immersion a little bit. It's funny. I don't know. Everyone can make their own minds on that. But what I really like about this is, one, just looking over it, it seems to be fairly comprehensive. And that is good. Now, if you notice, all these are green for Britain, and I haven't looked at any other country yet. That's research. There isn't enough green there to know if that's researched or not. But and I can almost tell you what Podcat of the Hearts of Iron development would think that all this is just unnecessary, just I could say BS or whatever, just unnecessary, because this is, you know, sort of the starting point in World War One. Well, let's see, level of trench complexity in Romania during World War One versus, say, the Western Front, Britain and France. Romania ain't anywhere near making as complex and as developed trenches as Britain and France. And stormtrooper tactics, I don't think Romania got anywhere near anything like stormtrooper tactics. And Russia very much didn't either. So I haven't looked at Russia or anything to see how much of this they have researched. But what really is, I mean, we could all argue that most of the World War One people should have, you know, the major nations of thought should have these texts starting out. Okay, granted, most of them should. But should Afghanistan? Should Saudi Arabia? Yeah, sort of Lawrence of Arabia and all those guys. But all they were doing was riding around horses in the desert and shooting up the places. Sure, they observed some trenches of the Ottoman Turks that they took and things like that. But it's not nearly what we're, you know, looking there. So that should be there. And, you know, you can look at Argentina or Chile or, you know, Peru or wherever. How much of these technologies of time on target, or this is creeping barrage, I was with a clock there, I was in time on target, rolling barrage, and blockade barrage, how much would they know? No, not just, oh, I read it in a book, but had it ingrained into their army, their training of their army, because this is not just, hey, I had a book, and see, I know all this stuff, I know this stuff from reading in a book. I don't know how to, personally, I don't know how to do this, you know, I don't know the details of setting up a rolling barrage and have it roll and fire, because the idea that the blue guys are your troops moving towards the red enemy, and that there's artillery in front. I don't know the details of setting it up. I know it conceptually, but I'm not trained in it. I'm not experienced in it. I'm not part of an army. I've never served an army that trained with that. So I don't know how, you know, in the idea of actually knowing how to do that. And your standard infantry officer of World War I wouldn't know it either, because he's not an artilleryman. He just know to walk slowly behind the artillery burst. But how to arrange it all, he wouldn't even know it. So it's that sort of thing that really makes the difference between Britain and Argentina. And so, again, I don't know where many of these other nations are starting out, but it is definitely something that I think good to show the great difference between, we're going to start with that, between various powers in the world at the time. Now, here, I'm loving this tank tech tree. And the last one I looked at was that Total War thing, where they had the Matilda I as a light tank, and you can look at it. Is the Matilda I a light tank? No, it really isn't. Now, Matilda I versus, you know, some of the Valentines or the cruisers, oh, it's a small little tank, and so theoretically it's lighter. But in the day that it was created, it was not a light tank. It was like they're doing a medium tank. Matilda II, instead of calling it an infantry tank and having a different role for it, should that be a heavy tank? You know, it's definitely not. Well, they have this big tortoise thing here, and they don't have the what TOG, the old gang or whatever design things that weren't going to work for British heavy stuff. I might have made the because they're doing special here, but I maybe call the Churchills somewhat heavy or whatever. But it all sort of depends on your viewpoint. But if you look at here now, I guess because this is special here for the armor recovery here, is why that heavy. I guess this is sort of also medium here. No, they have the Firefly, which is definitely not the light tank. But it is a British conversion of American tanks. And the Centurion is a medium tank, because it's comparable to the Panther. You know, it's a better tank than the Panther. You know, that's sort of where. So I sort of like this better. So in this day and age, the Matilda I was an infantry tank that was sort of a medium vehicle. Compare it to a Matilda II, compare it to some of the other later, because as you can see here from the V series versus the C series here with some of these, however you want to call it, this is their sort of cavalry or fast tanks. That's, I believe, a Christie design transmission. Hope you're all interested in this. But sorry for the pause there. That's, I believe, a Christie design, and that's sort of, I guess, coming off of some of the Christie designs here. This is your sort of fast cruiser tank that the British developed, where this is coming through your slower infantry tank development and branches off into heavier stuff. So, you know, I'm loving this. That this is much better. So we'll do filters in the cars, and we can see here British submarine development. Obviously, this is with the various extra techniques, and again, I have not looked over at the new version of the German one, but their previous one. So this may get more development in time, but really good aircraft tree here for Britain, I thought. And of course, the Royal Navy was the Royal Navy, and they've done what looks to be a very good job here. Someone like my friend X99 could tell me better. So those are sort of the unique British ones. They just still haven't gotten into changing these. I think they will eventually, but they haven't got there yet. And now my understanding is, because this doesn't have a special flag, these are all generic, meaning the images and the names are just mostly for immersion, where my understanding is these are stats as best that they feel that they can determine to equal what the name in the picture shows. We can all argue, debate how best, because we're not you know, specifying side armor versus front armor versus turret armor that we would in War Thunder or some other sort of, you know, smaller scale tank game. So we're all just sort of working on the stats that we have here to try to model it. But so my understanding is these are specific to Britain, where these are just sort of general names that more or less match the capabilities shown, you know, or you know, the levels. But this is just generic. Probably we will see over the years to come continued development there. So like here, I would say this is too early. We shouldn't yet have. Britain did not have submachine gun at this time in '36. They got submachine guns, rifle number 4. That's a wrong picture there. I'm sure of that. And again, rifle number. No, that's another Sten gun. And they may be just sticking that there. That ain't a rifle number 4. Well, that's also not an L1A1 SLR. But that's a weird thing. More like a M1A or something with a weird banana magazine. They're well, we could discuss discussed that, but they were going for a bullpup design, sort of post-war. Britain was the EM something or other, I forget. I have to look that up. But so these are here now, but and I would start them out with the Lanchester submachine gun, but that didn't show up until later. And so again, this is a generic tree, and that's fine. So these aren't specifically to like the boys anti-tank rifle versus the German anti-tank rifle versus you know, the Soviet anti-tank rifle and whatever. But I still wouldn't have them pre-researched at this point, even if the dates aren't the basic things. So okay, now well, let's research very communications. I know I'm talking a lot, but I hope it's of interest. Let's build some factories here. Get those into production. Now we at least appears to have a lot of military factories, though. Of course, how well things. You know, how much it takes to produce. Let's go here. Is there anything that we so like we need to produce some medium artillery or something? Trucks. So we have the there we go. While we're doing this will be better. Okay, we've got the 18-pounder quick fire. And we want to get the production, I think, right away. Do we have mortars in production? No, it doesn't look like it. So let's put some mortars into production. Now, we also don't have horse transport. And then let's also put in cavalry. Make stop that pretty quickly because I don't know how much cavalry will have any real sense. Okay, we've got the light tank. Do we need any current we need horse artillery. Well, we don't need it, but we will do that. Anti-air, we could use some anti-air. Wood uniforms we will be producing motorized. Okay, we need some motorized as well. So we've got that for trucks. Let's do the awesome artillery. I just want to get these into production to sort of, well, we have some production of all this stuff here. I think we look at can't get either. Do we have light machine gun? Let's production as well. Oh no, we have HQ equipment. Okay, we don't need that. Cancel. Equipment. Garrison equipment. Yes, yes. We won't continue to produce. Now, since we have this, we don't have any production now. Recon. No, let's do that too. And then we'll do some basic recon equipment as well. And let's see. For aircraft here we have bomber. Flying boat. Everyone knows how much I love flying boats and naval bombers, so we will get those in production. Okay, now let's see these. Mostly here just to, these are all one-offs. Let's, as things come available, concentrating on completion of current production models. There we go. Now I know this is taking a while, but this is the setup. I hope it's of interest. If not, I hope you know well enough. Well, we're in too much of a deficit, in my opinion, to start really adding any new units until we get some production going. Yeah, I know, but I just want to get some of the because we don't even have enough field uniforms, so I'd rather have a bunch of World War I uniforms here faster now than trying to put them into production faster. Well, let's turn it to speed 3. BlackICE is known for doing this. Japan claims hegemony in the East Asia, throwing lots of events at us. Ah, somebody's watching on Twitch. This early version is being streamed initially live on Twitch today. So, hello, Ego. Streamed live on Twitch as I'm making it, and so if you're watching this on YouTube, probably part 2 is already up on Twitch. If you want to go over to my Twitch channel and look at the earlier videos there. Yes, we have level 1 aircraft factory, light aircraft factory, armor factory, no subyards, level 12 shipyard, level 1 artillery, truck factory, small arms, ammo, uniforms, Navy size huge, good, Air Force size small, Navy size average, Green Army Command. Now, many of those will, the Green Army Command size, will give us various modifiers to things. Research time or whatever, sometimes negatively, but Green Army Command is better than no Army Command, really, but as time will come along, it will get better. So this is good. I'm glad they brought Malaya and this part of Indonesia in part as the UK, so we don't have to import oil. That's a good thing. They changed that in the standard game, mainly so that it created British. Yes, this is Hearts of Iron 4, the new version of BlackICE, BlackICE 2.51, and we're playing with Britain today for the new series. But so Australia that could do some events to fortify that. This is why that was changed in the standard game, but I like this better. They have an improved map here over not just different graphical images, but more provinces and other things that I think are better. More states. Let's up the speed a little bit. Not too much is happening yet. Preparation for the Winter Olympics Games, good. King George V has died. His Majesty King George V of the United Kingdom and the British Domains and Emperor of India has passed away. His quiet calm and devotion to his subjects saw the Empire through the Great War and the Great Depression. His son will assume the mantle as King Edward VIII, but there is already concerns that he will be too independent of thought. Stanley Baldwin, Neville Chamberlain are preparing to ensure that he will accept direction from Prime Minister. The K6 red telephone box. When on War Thunder? Not sure. Maybe later today or tonight, my time, likely. I've also been playing Heroes and Generals fair amount, and I've gotten a Panzer I in that to drive around and shoot at people in both infantry and tanks, so I've been trying that out. When the Winter Olympic Games happens, yes. Okay, national unity changes. Our nation's mood changed for the better. Good. English communists. Communists outside the Soviet Union are fixated on attempts that have been made to destroy the Soviet Revolution. Henry Pullet, General Secretary of Britain's Communist Party, says that the trials in Moscow represent a new triumph in the history of progress. No, that's terrible. Play 2. Well, we'll live with that. Well, that's probably because shit in production. More oil or something, maybe. Okay. Well, what we need to do here is show and remilitarization of the Rhineland. Okay. Germany's in the Rhineland now. What's that? So we've got our rearmament program, which will help us out. Naval rearmament, home defense, coastal ports. Where we are, their bases, nice. But let's reinforce the empire. Yes, this is the historical playthrough. Closing ceremonies. Oh good, now we can go more. Okay, well, requires 10 workshops, so okay, we haven't got those yet, so we'll support the London area. And we can improve our government. Now, I haven't even really looked at research for economic ministers, political advisors, okay. Economic ministers. Wilson, a socialist. No, we don't want him. Industrial planner capital industry. We're gonna go with John Anderson. He's the guy that the Anderson shelter, I believe, is named after. No, no, no. We're not gonna go fascist. We'll do that when we play Germany or Italy. This is gonna be Churchill's war. Yes, in Britain's House of Commons, Churchill speaks of danger to parliamentary nations from heavily armed dictatorships. He complains that the spirit of the British people is being tamed and cowed with peace films, anti-recruiting propaganda, and resistance to defense measures. Doesn't that sound like what's going on today? However, much of the British political establishment does not share Winston Churchill's opinion of the Germans or Herr Hitler's intentions. As such, he is denounced as a warmonger with anti-German obsession. Yep, that's like people today going, oh no, don't want to prepare for defense. Give more money to the poor people. Hey, I don't want poor people to starve. I don't want them in bad shape. But defense comes first. Okay. Got those HQ radios. Good. As soon as we get that, we're going to start researching some more of those. Well, what I do want to see is how well if we can defend France. I'd love to stop the Germans from taking France. That'd be a great achievement, this series. That'd be a very different war. We now have some free factory and shipyards. All of that production, and then we'll build newer versions in some of these cases. What is this? Reinforce the Empire Group. Military's armored cars. Well, maybe rearmament. National unity. Good. And we can improve things. How are we doing in our production? Okay, getting better. So using that coastal artillery, mechanized. Once we get those building guns, let's build 4 armaments factories. Concentrated industry and construction. Now, yes, we can do the truck. And yes, let's do elevator trucks. Okay. Spanish Civil War has broken out. Okay, artillery deal. We can decide to send small shipment of artillery from United Kingdom to Australia. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. An island out here. Fascist trapped, okay. Naval rearmament, that's great. Okay, zone around the Straits of the Bosphorus and Dardanelles. Okay. Don't need, well, good things there, but gas mask. Let's do service overseas. Okay. Infantry, tank, artillery coordination. Good. Basically, early forms of the Blitzkrieg. Yeah, we'll do that. Summer Olympics. Okay, now we've got free shipyards. Naval shipyards. Okay, how? Okay, we've got lots of convoys. Not that we can't use more, but we've got lots. Well, carrier would be nice. And, oh, we just want one of those. And I'm free at the moment, but we will shortly. Mechanical compute. Good. That will help out research. Help us research everything else. Yeah, artillery shots are useful. Let's get bomber workshop done. And we can improve our government situation now. Okay, basic bonds, we don't have enough. Wait, we can get that. Reserve army, standing army. Interventionism, which is where we're at. Volunteer only. Well, we have a lot of men. Men allowed. That's interesting. Civil autonomy, private control. Yeah, okay. Those all look reasonably good. Let's see. Like that. Firepower. sort of like this. That will hopefully help keep our... Oh, not available. Okay. 7 national. Okay, so we have to do more national, more shipyards in Lancashire. Well, we just got to build a fire then. Lancashire. Okay, well we have shipyards and dockyards. If they said shipyards, let's just check that and see. Don't want to be building the wrong thing. Okay, oh, dockyards. So we have to have 7 dockyards here for that. So we've got 3 already. Okay. Good to know. Okay, British Union of Fascists, BFU. The people of East London rallied to Cable Street and forced back the march of the fascist Oswald Mosley and his black shirts through the streets of the East End. They shall not pass. The Battle of Cable Street was a major factor leading to the passage of the Public Order Act of 1936, which required police consent for political marches and forbade wearing political uniforms in public. This is widely considered to be a significant factor in the BFU's decline prior to the Second World War. Just so you know, they shall not pass comes from non-Parazan, the cry in Madrid trying to stop the nationalists. Do not see the Battle of Cable Street as, oh, pro-freedom people fighting against the fascist, like the modern day Antifa wants to try to claim. Were you a force or you're a fascist, is sort of what Antifa says, because they're only anti-fascist is all they are. Yeah, right, they're a bunch of communists and nut jobs. But the idea is obviously that that's signs from a communist party here they're using. Don't know that that's specifically that, but that was very much of a very leftist, shall we say, response. Not freedom, but the one leftist group versus another leftist group. Truck workshops, great. Now, let's do submarine workshop. Let's see, okay, we're getting ready to build some armaments factories, which I still very much want. But what I also want to do is build that. Fighter workshops, great. We'll put one of those in the Midlands there. Now, finish up tank workshops. How are we doing for America? Big thing I'm worrying about now is these numbers. Mountain artillery, we want to in production. Coastal artillery, what are we doing for? We still need lots of rifles, so we're producing more than we need. Okay. Overseas. Okay, let's pause this. cruiser in production there. Okay, Mediterranean Bastion. Don't think we need that yet. Encourage Colonial Elite, which will help with some of these other things, so we won't do that, I think next. Yeah, I think that looks to be the next best way to go. Now, because we're producing carriers and whatever that need a lot more fuel, we have a deficit needs. So let's see. For the British, okay, one factory for oh, let's see. Do we have a pull over Iraq? Okay, it would also be a 10. Oh no, it's just gonna be 2 factories. I don't want to do that. Let's go to British Raj. Okay, that's good. That's good. Just a little bit of a deficit. We're gonna move this down and down. Okay. Canada, yeah, okay. BBC television regular service begins. Regularly scheduled electronically scanned television began from Alexandra Palace in London on the 2nd of November 1936, just a few hundred viewers in the immediate area. It was reaching an estimated 25 to 40,000 homes before the outbreak of war, which caused the service to be suspended in September. That's a huge number of television. I'm surprised it's that many. The VHS broadcast would provide an ideal radio beacon for German bombers homing in on London, and the engineers and technicians of the service were needed for the war effort, particularly the radar program. That's very interesting because in about 36, in 36 you get the German television in Berlin area, which is well documented with Third Reich events. I also know that Paris at about this time gets a television station. Now they keep broadcasting after the war starts, and Germany takes it over and keeps it broadcasting under German control until about the end of German occupation of Paris. And also in 36 you get the New York. Now you may go, well, of course one of these people once one company gets it, the other will just copy the technology. Well, actually, to the best of my understanding, is some of this was being worked. Yeah, there were journals and people publishing reports about this stuff, but it was sort of simultaneously being worked on in London, in Berlin, and in New York, particularly. And New York gets television about this time as well. So it's not just the idea that whether it was Britain or Germany or the U.S. gets it, and then everybody else stops getting or just copies it. And we can improve the government some more. Chamberlain. Well, political advisors will have 2 slots. Conservatism. Artillery workshops, good. So, while we're in mid-November, and concentrating on that, we need to be very helpful there. And bomber workshops. Well, I don't know if we're going to do much research. We're going to do some mad bombers, maybe. Sunderland fine, but it's a very good fine, but it's 838, yeah. Blenheim over here. What do they consider this? This is like medium. Peter bomber, those are good. Yeah, okay, we're going to take this opportunity to end this episode here. I want to thank everyone for watching. I really do appreciate that. And of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions. Oh, also like the videos, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. But please post comments, questions, suggestions, ideas. And love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.